Are you guys interested in the Sacred Serpent YouTube channel? Do you want more bonus content that you will never find here publicly? If so, go over to www.patreon.com/Sacred Serpent and check out my Patreon page. For $5 a month, you get anywhere from 2 to 6 hours or more of bonus video content that you will never find here on the public YouTube channel. You will also gain access to a community section where you can ask me questions and receive prompt replies. You can talk amongst other patrons. And I'm also doing a lot of posting in regards to what I'm eating. I'm posting recipes, exercises, all sorts of stuff. So it's a really fun outlet. And again, if you guys are interested in my channel and you do indeed want more content, donkey, go over again to www.patreon.com/Sacred Serpent. Peace be with you.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since I've made a YouTube video. Kind of taking a break from YouTube for a little bit, a few days. There was a period there where I was recording or making videos every day. Just haven't really had the time to. I've been focusing a lot of my energy on the Patreon page. I like the way that the Patreon page feels. Everything's running smoothly. I like the layout. It's really kind of a cool medium. But I'm definitely not going to stop making the YouTube videos. I'll probably just kind of not make as many. But anyways, I'm blabbering. I wanted to talk a little bit about lucid dreaming and dreaming in general. I am going to be sharing the lucid dream potions and the prophetic and vivid dream potions on the Patreon page. So if you're interested in that, go over to patreon.com/Sacred Serpent, become a Supreme Access member for $5 a month. I guarantee you, you will get your money's worth. Someone recently was complaining to me, "Oh, dude, you're charging for knowledge, this and that." Well, unfortunately, we live in a world where you got to pay to play. Things cost money, rent costs money, food costs money. Water distillers, herbs, alchemical gear, you name it, everything costs money. So, you know, the person that was complaining to me about the fact that I was charging money for my Patreon page is an individual who spends hundreds of dollars on pointless bullshit, such as $150 pairs of shoes, bling, and just all sorts of garbage. So, you know, I think a lot of people think that within the metaphysical realm, within the spiritual realm, within the realm of alternative health, the information is supposed to just be free, and it's supposed to be like a service of humanity to just give everything away for free and just sacrifice all your time. I already do that on my YouTube channel. I don't sacrifice my time. Let me rephrase that. I enjoy every moment that I record videos, and I've had a ton of fun making this channel, but it gets to a point where you kind of look at the data, sit down and talk to yourself and go, okay, is this cost feasible? You know? Excuse me. And that's why I created the Patreon page, for a little bit of financial increase and a little bit of extra knowledge that I'll share with you guys on the Patreon page if you become a member. That I'm just not going to talk deeper about how to do the enemas and certain sensitive information. I'm just not going to talk about that here on YouTube. So anyways, it's just a funny observation to me that many people have no problem spending, they'll go to dinner and spend like $60 on like a steak dinner or even more than that. I've been to restaurants before in the past when I was a meat eater where the bill for 4 people would be like $280. And it's just like, it's just a funny programming where people think that fucking dog out here is making a ton of noise, throwing me off course. Excuse me. But, you know, we live in a crazy culture where people will spend $7 on a pack of cigarettes but complain about a $5 subscription to like a monthly information page. It looks like the dog's getting into a little bit of trouble by its owner. I don't know if you guys can hear that dog barking. But I do have a little bit of distilled water here. I added some magnesium and some other elements to this, and I restructured it. It's another thing I'm going to talk about and show you guys how to do on the Patreon page. How to restructure and rebuild and bring distilled water back to life. A lot of people get a hold of me when they find out I remineralize and restructure my distilled water, and they just seem to have a huge problem with that. Many of the people who are into distilled water believe that it's just supposed to be consumed without minerals, without anything added to it. I've been in the distilled water game for 6 years, ladies and gentlemen. I've done that. I've been there, I've done that. I've done the experiments with distilled water without minerals, and I've done the experiments with minerals. I've done the experiments where I restructure it, vortex it, expose it to lunar and solar energy. I've developed my own system for creating perfect water. So that's another funny observation, to see all these people will get into like distilled water, for an example. They'll be into it for like a month. They've never really done over a year's worth of research or a year's worth of experimentation with it, but they think that their way of consuming it is the only way, even though they've only been doing it for a month or sometimes even a week. It's really interesting how people will get into something and they'll be into it for like a week and they think that it's like the exact truth, you know? But I've been there, again, I've done that. I've drank hundreds of gallons of distilled water. I've distilled thousands of gallons of distilled water over the past 6 years. I got into distilled water in my early 20s while I was visiting my grandparents in Missouri. And I came across a video about distilled water in Missouri when I was sitting on the dock alone at night. I was on my iPhone. And I watched the whole video. It just made so much sense to me. I only had like $250 in my bank account at that point, but I ended up dropping about $210 on the Mega Home water distiller without question. I went, okay, I need this. I'm not going to worry about my finances. I'm not going to worry about my money. If this is essentially something that I need, the money that I use to buy the distiller, it will come back rapidly, and it did. So I think a lot of people fear buying certain things out of the investment value. They're not sure if it's something that they need, or they worry about, oh, it's going to cost a ton of money, this and that. I can't do that. I've got to save up. But it's been my own experience over the years that when something comes along that grabs my attention and, you know, makes me feel like, okay, if I invest in this, it might be able to make me healthier. When I make investments like that, and I don't worry about the money and losing the money, it always comes back very rapidly, and you know, you're rewarded for taking care of your health. What's more intelligent? You not buying a water filter or a distiller because you don't want to lose some money, or you continuing to drink? You know, what's more valuable? You continuing to drink tap water, or you buying something to filter all the chlorine and the residues and the algicides, the cobalts, the chlorine, chloramine compounds, you name it, hydrofluorosilicic acid, pipe residues, inorganic compounds, scaling lime, radioactive elements, plutonium, parasites, the list goes on and on and on. If the average person actually bared witness to how many excessive contamination violations that each of the states in the United States violate, or excuse me, there's just, in every state there's excessive contamination violations with the water supply that people are drinking. So water is supposed to be at a certain standard in the United States, across the states, but it isn't. So if you think tap water is safe, keep drinking it. I don't think that you're going to get anywhere with that in relation to your health. It is a dangerous compound. You know, just simply doing some research and looking what has been found in the tap water should be incentive enough for you to not want to drink it anymore. But I think it's frightening for people to go, okay, I think people get frightened by the idea of coming to terms with the fact that there's poison in the water supply that they're drinking. I think by default, them submitting to that understanding that your water supply is poisoned, it makes them fear reality because they feel like they're being poisoned by some type of nefarious hand kind of hiding behind the scenes. I think people have an easier time staying comfortably numb and thinking like, just believing that everything's hunky-dory, believing that the government cares for them, and believing that the water supply is pristine. Oh, the government gives us everything we need. Oh, big brother, big daddy, big mommy loves me. People have lost their minds. It's an insane world. Health has really been pushed on the back burner here in this matrix and things of a salubrious nature, things that are positive, things that are very spiritually truthful, have just been shunned and just thrown onto the back burner. And it's been muddled with a bunch of falsehoods. That's the problem with the New Age movement. That's the problem with the spiritual movement here in 2017. It's kind of just a continuity. It's just a continuation of the CIA 60s psychedelic movement. And the love movement. I don't have a problem with some of these sacraments, the psychedelic sacraments, but the love culture was just ridiculous in my opinion, based on my own research and really looking into the data. People are abusing these sacraments. They're not taking them properly. They're not taking them under the supervision of a gifted shaman or a shaman. But I see a lot of... It's a continuation for sure of the 60s psychedelic movement. All this love and peace shit. Yeah, that's great on paper, but it doesn't work in reality. Just believing that, oh, everything's going to be fine. I don't have to do anything. Everything's love. Come on. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be one of those people. I want to know my enemy. I want to study the darkness. I want to know what's going on behind closed doors. I want to know the secrets. I want to extract the wisdom. I want to look at the truth regardless of how hard it is to swallow. Because that's what responsible individuals do. I think a lot of people get into the love and light movement because they want to just not... They want to kind of sedate themselves from being a responsible person and acknowledging the truth and the darkness that's hiding in plain sight. But in my experience, just wishing for love and this and that, it doesn't get shit done here in the mundane plane. We have enemies here in this dimension. In the subterranean, or the lower astral realm, the lower mundane realm, there's all sorts of crazy spiritual energy here in this dimension. Muddling the minds of men and women. It's just insane. What's really going on? Not only in the physical world, but in the non-physical realms. All the stuff that's around us, all the astral baggage and all of the demonic energy. It's a deep, deep reality. This is a very complex world, and I love it. And I love kind of being kind of a alchemical private investigator, and researching what's really going on. I like watching movies like Earthlings, regardless of how hard they are to watch. I like seeing what goes on. But I'm repeating myself. I've probably said that like 100 times. Excuse me. But, Anyways, take a sip of water and we'll continue ranting. But one of the main focuses on my Patreon page that I'm going to start focusing on next month is really talking about the astral plane and the dream realm. Falling asleep at night and dreaming is the easiest way to access the astral realm, also known as the astral plane. Trying to learn how to astrally project while in the physical realm is incredibly difficult. You essentially have to put your body to sleep while your mind is awake. It's a very difficult thing. You could spend the next 20 years trying to learn how to astrally project, and while you may achieve it, I believe that the foundational kind of gateway into astral projection is learning how to harness the power of your dreams and utilizing dream yoga. And dream yoga essentially is just another term. It's an older term for lucid dreaming. But there are indeed herbs that can help us achieve lucidity. Now, essentially how these herbs work is they increase the vividness, the colors, and the intensity of your dream experience. And due to the increase in vividness that these dreams can potentially bestow upon you during your dreams, you can recognize the dream realm in a different context because everything's burning brighter, metaphorically speaking. It's just when certain herbs like mugwort, Kalea zakatachichi, Gayasa, these herbs, if they're taken properly, if they're blended properly, if they're brewed properly, if they're drank on an empty stomach, if they're taken at the appropriate time before bed, again, the dream can just become brighter. And due to the fact that it's brighter, you can, within your dream, kind of recognize it and go, whoa, this isn't familiar. And that is kind of a trigger on how to become awakened within the dream. Recognizing the environment that you're in. And when we dream, when we go into the astral plane, our egos, our astral body utilizes our ego as a vehicle to go into the astral plane. And that's why most people don't remember their dreams, and that's why most people have meaningless dreams. It's just a continuity of the ego's impressions upon us. And we harbor a lot of what we think about during the day, what we dwell on, often we experience that in the dream plane, even though you may not remember it. Because it's just an egotistical, it's the ego repeating what went on in the day. And the ego isn't necessarily a bad thing. It is indeed a survival mechanism, the primal ego. But becoming lucid is, in the dream, is a state of detaching from the ego's impressions on the dreams, recognizing the world that you're in, the astral plane, and then commanding and doing whatever the fuck it is that you want in the dream. Otherwise, you're gonna be essentially hypnotized. Most of us are hypnotized in our dreams. We are not in control of the dream. The dream controls us. The ego controls us. But the herbs are beautiful because they can indeed produce a state of consciousness within the dream where we notice things differently. We can look at it from a different angle and go, okay, something's wrong here. What's going on? You know, the thing about dreams that's tricky is that when you're in the astral plane, how would I put this? In the astral plane, the average person, due to the fact that he or she is dominated by the ego's impressions on the dreams, in the dream realm, in the astral plane, it's very hard for the soul to differentiate the mundane realm that we're in now, the physical, and the astral plane. And that's why most people, when they're dreaming, they don't wake up. They don't become lucid because it's so close to what they experience here in the physical dimension that it's hard for them to differentiate the two. Even though you might be being chased by monsters, even though you might be, being stabbed in the stomach, even though you might be flying around in the dream, while you're in that state, while you're hypnotized in the dream state, you think that it's actually real. You don't have any frame of reference to question it, and that's why you're not lucid. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you were actually in the dream state and you were conscious in the dream state, you'd be going, okay, this shit's not possible in the mundane realm, such as being chased by monsters, being, pulling your finger and stretching it 100 miles. Excuse me. If you were in a more lucid state, if you were more conscious in the dream plane, you'd be recognizing the fact that, okay, this isn't the real world. I'm doing things, I'm experiencing things that don't happen here or back in the physical realm. And that's the trigger. Recognizing that you're in a different environment, the astral plane, allows you to become lucid. I hope I'm making sense. I haven't gotten much sleep, or I didn't get much sleep last night, excuse me. My cat kept me up all night, scratching at my door, making noises, knocking shit over. So, how long have we been ranting? 17 minutes? But there are techniques there's techniques and mantras and things that you can do in the physical realm during the day that you can do. There's little exercises that allow you to potentially awaken within the astral plane. And I'm going to talk about those on the Patreon page. But interesting world, ladies and gentlemen. The easiest way to begin astral projecting is by harnessing the power of your dreams and utilizing dream yoga, which is just another term for lucid dreaming. And I've kind of developed a system where there's all sorts of different stuff you can do if you go on the internet and read, if you get books. But a lot of that stuff floating around the internet, a lot of the stuff in books is stuff that it just takes so long to cultivate. You have to do it for so long before you see results. I'm the type of guy that wants to get from point A to point B as quick as possible. I don't want to spend 5 years trying to do something when I could potentially do it in a month or less. And that's why I utilize the art of herbalism. There is indeed dream herbalism. That's a very interesting branch of herbalism, because these herbs, however they work, they have an affinity to not only affect the body and the physiology, the bloodstream, the liver, you name it, but they also affect our astral body. Now, non-dream related herbs affect the astral body as well. But what's interesting about herbs that have the potential to increase vividness in dreams and the potential of becoming lucid, they have a much more profound effect on the astral body. And that's why these dreams have an effect on you, or excuse me, that's why these herbs have an effect on you when you're in the astral plane while you're dreaming. You ever wonder that? Wonder about, what am I saying? Have you ever thought about that? That, okay, I take a herb, I consume it physically. It goes into my stomach, it gets broken down, it gets utilized, it gets recycled, it goes into my tissues, feeds my cells, feeds the consciousness, you name it. But aside from that, when you're in the astral plane dreaming, you are not predominantly connected to your physical body. Although there is a connection, it's very subtle. You are now in a different body, you're now in a vehicle, a new vehicle, the astral body. But those herbs are affecting your astral body. It's fascinating shit, ladies and gentlemen. The natural kingdom is fucking fascinating. But the whole thing about dream herbalism, I'm considering writing a short ebook on it. But unfortunately, many of the herbs that are available that have been known throughout history to induce vividness in dreams and the potential to become lucid, they're not the same that they used to be. Due to the fact that the soils have been raped, there's no more minerals left in the soils. The herbs, the plants, the fruits, I don't care what it is. The things that are grown here agriculturally, here in this matrix for mass production, are significantly weakened in their mineral content. In the mineral content in a herb, whether that be a dream herb or a liver herb, you name it, the mineral content has an intimate connection between how the plant grows spiritually. So if you grow a shamanic plant in weakened soil, the outcome is you're going to have a plant that's lacking the essential elements that it needs to be fully activated and fully beneficial to you when you consume it. And that's why I recommend creating your own garden and growing your own herbs, whether those be dream herbs or brain herbs like gotu kola or you name it. You have to remember that in the 1940s, the average bowl of spinach harbored 154 milligrams of iron, between 150 and 160 milligrams of iron. That was in the 1940s. Today, the average bowl of spinach has an average of less than 1 milligram per bowl. And that's not the only crop that's suffering from mineral deficiencies. It's all of them, including the herbs. So, essentially what that means is that if you wanted to get as much iron today from spinach that you would have in the 1940s, you'd have to eat between 150 and 160 bowls of spinach to get the allotment of iron that you would have transferred into your system from eating a bowl of spinach in the 1940s. It's pretty fucking embarrassing. It's pretty sad. So essentially, I mean, to get nutrition from fruits and vegetables, you have to eat truckloads of them. And that's why I have some big problems with the raw vegan diet. Especially raw vegans who are doing it on a budget. Regardless of the fact that they have great intentions, by eating these fruits and vegetables and not engaging in the animal suffering, they're becoming severely denourished, malnourished. They just don't know it. I mean, to compare the nutritional statistics of today to the 1940s, it's embarrassing. And that's why food is used as a direct weapon against our genetics, against our DNA, against our potential enlightenment, our evolution, because food has an intimate connection to the Kundalini rising. It has an intimate connection to our state of health, our consciousness. We do indeed become what we eat. Now, if your body requires a certain amount of iron to remain healthy, and you're eating spinach thinking that you're getting iron or this and that, you're not. A lot of us have great intentions with our health, but we're missing our mark so much because we're not getting adequate nutrition from the foods that we believe have nutrition, and it's sad. And shame on the people who have gone out of their way to just bastardize the genetic code of these plants, these fruits, to bastardize nature, and to just create these frankenfoods, these genetically modified foods with no nutrition in them. A lot of these fruits, they don't even bear seeds. a fruit that doesn't bear seeds means that it cannot replicate, it cannot duplicate, and that's not something that you necessarily want inside of your organism. It may sound like I'm a hypocrite because I do from time to time eat fruits that are seedless, but I know it's not good. It's horrible. But we live in a matrix where literally everything's been designed to try to affect our health. Essentially, these are all just tests along the path. They're tests to see how we navigate through this physical dimension. We have to learn to question everything in this dimension, as hard as that may sound, or as hard as that may be, excuse me. We can't just go, okay, raw vegan, that's great. I'm just going to eat celery my whole life and juice vegetables and get nutrition. Well, that's great, but unfortunately those fruits, those vegetables, they harbor hardly any nutrition anymore. So that's why I recommend super nutrition, and I talk about this on the Patreon page. Super nutrition, there are a large handful of, in the divine basket I call it. The divine basket, in it, there are sacred elements, there are sacred foods that still contain large amounts of the minerals that we require. There are certain foods that are hyper concentrated with fulvic acid, with iodine, with vitamin B12, something that most vegans are incredibly deficient in. That's one of the reasons why many raw vegans, or many vegans in general, aren't successful long term. They experience a weakening of the body due to a lack of pantothenic acid, a lack of iodine, a lack of vitamin B12, a lack of vitamin A. And over time, after consuming all this vegan food, they think that, oh, you know, this vegan diet's horrible for me. I feel like shit, I have no energy. It's because you're consuming foods with nothing in it. You're consuming foods with no minerals. The body requires minerals to rebuild itself. The body requires minerals to rebuild the astral body, because the health of the physical body is intimately connected to the astral body, the etheric body, the aura, you name it. And it is indeed true that consuming food is a form of energy transference. It's a form of information transference. That which we eat, the information from it, goes into the physical corporeal body, and the body utilizes it to rebuild itself. And the body can only rebuild itself predicated upon the quality of the foods and the fluids that you put into it, and the mineral concentrations, you name it. Fucking phone. Excuse me. It is a crazy, crazy world, but I love living in it. We have 26 minutes. Alrighty, we'll go a couple more minutes and we'll wrap this one up. I was at the library the other day. You know, the night before I had listened to a particular book on Kundalini by a profound occultist and Gnostic named Samael Anwar. If you want to hear that book, if you want to learn more about it, again, become a Patreon page. I'm not trying to plug it every 5 minutes, but I'm just being honest. I have that book on there. I have a lot of information that can benefit people interested in Kundalini and health, you name it. But in that book, there's a part where he talks about how you need to clean the environment that you live in that you want to experience gnosis in. Gnosis is just Greek for wisdom, and wisdom essentially is enlightenment. So he's talking about, in this book, creating a sacred space where you can meditate, and how the room needs to be clean, and how you should have certain images in the room, such as an image of Buddha, Jesus, and the Divine Mother. And he was talking about putting an image of the Divine Mother in your room on an altar. And he recommended utilizing either a picture of Isis, the Egyptian goddess, I'm drawing a blank here. I'm too tired to have kind of a photographic memory of which pictures he recommended. It was Isis, a Native American goddess, I believe, the Holy White Dove, which does indeed represent the Holy Mother, because it does indeed represent the Kundalini energy. He gave a handful of recommendations. You should get a picture of Isis or the dove, whatever suits your taste, whichever one resonates with you. Just pick it, get one, and put it on your altar. So I go, okay, which one would I like to put on my altar? Because I do have an altar, and this is something that I've needed to do for a while. I've needed to put a picture, a representation, an archetypal image of the Kundalini energy, the Divine Mother, on my altar. Anyways, I'm blabbing. But I go, okay, out of the recommendations that he gave, I resonate most with the white dove. I just do. To me, it's a divine symbol of the Holy Mother and much more. But, you know, I went to print out a picture at the library of the Holy White Dove. I couldn't find one. I was super frustrated because I wanted to get that picture up that night. And, you know, I just couldn't find one. I tried to print one and it didn't come out properly. So I'm just all frustrated. I'm like, fuck this shit. So I got my bag to leave the library and I go to use the bathroom and I look over and they have a bin of free books, not free books, but these magazines that they give out. And I look down and this was on the front. The Love Issue. And it, you know, the tale of spiritual romance, the underlying force of evolution it talks about in this little freebie. And it also mentions, and this is what really hit me hard. I opened the book. Bear with me for a moment. Should have had the page ready. Come on. There's all sorts of spiritual and occultic, Gnostic symbolism in this funny little magazine that was free. I really wanted to show you guys this. Come on, where are you? This is the boring part of the video where you watch me skim through a magazine to try to find something. Jesus Christ, where are you? Anyways, somewhere in this magazine, there's a discussion about Shakti, which has a lot to do with Kundalini energy. I'm gonna look through it. Yeah. Shakti Fest. So, when I looked down at this book, I had a profound sense of connectedness to the Kundalini energy because the Kundalini energy brought me to this book, of course. I was looking for a picture of a dove, and I find one for free right after I'm all frustrated trying to print one out. And I open up the book, and it says Shakti on it. And Shakti has a lot to do with Kundalini, and there's all sorts of Kundalini references in this book. I never would have imagined that library would contain something about the Kundalini energy, but it did. So, asking you shall receive is indeed true, but it's not necessarily just an act of asking. It's an act of radiating an emotion. If you desire for you to be in communion with the Divine Mother, the Kundalini energy, if you truly, within your heart of hearts, desire that, it will happen, in my opinion. It did for me, and it did for many others. Excuse me. And I also asked the Kundalini energy, the motherly energy, the earthly energy, to give me a sign that she was watching over me, because lately I have felt a little disconnected. And I went somewhere the other night, and I was standing in line, just all pissed off and angry, just like, fuck these people, fuck this line, I'm sick of waiting for this, blah, blah, blah. Had all sorts of negative thoughts, and I looked over, and this elderly woman, had a purse with Isis on it, a representation of Isis, the divine Egyptian mother, and she's holding a book that says Mary's Message to the World. And Mary is just a symbol of the Kundalini. It's a symbol of enlightenment. It's a symbol of the female brain becoming enlightened. It's so many things, man. These are archetypes. But I was just overwhelmed with emotions, because when I looked at that image in that state of consciousness where I was upset, it triggered a connection to when I prayed to the Kundalini energy to give me a sign, and my whole body started to tingle, and my hair started to stick up straight on end, and I felt a little surge of Kundalini energy up my spine. It was very light. It wasn't some grand awakening, no. There's so many degrees of awakening. I mean, you can be stimulated by the Kundalini, you can kind of feel some tingling, but a full-blown Kundalini awakening will change your life forever. You will know you had a Kundalini awakening. A lot of people get a hold of me and say, I think I had an awakening, I'm not too sure. No. You will know, without a shadow of a doubt, what you've just experienced. That is a fact. Kundalini, a full-blown Kundalini awakening is not something where you go, yeah, I think I just, I think I'm enlightened. I think I had a Kundalini awakening. No. It has the potential to allow you to see the angelic realms from within your physical body. You can communicate with the Netters or the Nettaru. You can communicate with the ancestors, and it's not just some telepathic thing, it's visual. So all these people who are claiming, oh, I have my Kundalini awakened, bro, I'm enlightened. No, you're not. Because if you truly were, you would be performing miracles. You'd be able to walk on water. You'd be able to control the atoms in your system. You'd be able to stop your heart at will and get it to continue beating. You'd be able to walk through walls and shit. People's views on Kundalini have been completely misguided and misstrued here in this New Age movement, this continuation of the 60s CIA psychedelic love movement. I'm not saying that everything in that movement was bad, but a lot of it was horrible. People didn't even know they were being duped. Conned, buffoonery, trickery, jackassery. Excuse me. Anyways, you guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. It feels good to connect with you. I haven't been here on YouTube for a while. A lot of the videos I've been posting here on YouTube in the past week and the past month, they're just older videos that I haven't had the time to upload, or I was just, waiting to upload them. But again, it does feel good to make a video and reach out to you guys. If you're interested in more content, if you want to hear me talk more about the dream herbs, lucid dreaming, again, at the beginning of the video, I talked about how I wanted to talk about that, and I kind of went off on multiple subjects. That's how I roll. 35 minutes, maybe we'll go a couple more minutes, get a little sip of distilled water. Some people lately have been getting a hold of me telling me that they've undertaken some colonic irrigations, had miraculous results. That makes me very happy. It makes me very happy when people experience the benefits of the things that not only I talk about, but that I've experimented with, and that hundreds of thousands of people have experimented with. Cleansing the colon and bearing witness to the degree of shit and garbage that comes out of you can be a very, very liberating thing. When you look at that stuff and go, okay, it's out of me. It does indeed have the potential to change your life, because it allows you to have a visual reference of the abominations that were harbored inside your system. It's easy to stay off track with health when you're not really sure of what's inside of you in the form of toxicity. But when you see it come out of you, it triggers a primal aspect of your DNA, your consciousness, your physiology, and it can indeed help you get on track quick. It's amazing what can come out of people on their first colonic irrigation. Sometimes people are so plugged up that their first colonic irrigation, as they have multiple gallons of water pumped in and out of them, they don't even see much come out. They'll have like a couple of chunks of feces, and that's predicated upon the fact that a lot of these foods are so sticky that it takes continual washing and more than one colonic irrigation to even break up these impactions. But usually, by the second or third colonic irrigation, you're pumping out a lot of garbage. That tube, that observatory tube, as that water comes out of you, you are amazed at. It looks like mud coming out. But don't take my word for it. Do a little research and look it up. Look at what people have done with colonic irrigations. The colon has an intimate connection with every part of the physiology. The colon has connections to every part of the major organ system. So if you're toxifying your colon, you're not only toxifying your if you're toxifying your colon, you're not only toxifying your colon, but you're toxifying your liver, your heart, your lungs, your parathyroid, your thyroid, your gallbladder, your liver, you name it. I'm repeating myself, but I'm going to wrap this one up. I am a little tired. I'm going to go home and eat. It is almost 7 o'clock. 3 minutes, it will be 7, and that's kind of my eating window between 7 and 8 p.m. But on behalf of the Sacred Starseed Serpent Uraeus YouTube channel, thank you for watching this video. I hope that my videos, my messages, my channel, my passion, etc. can help inspire you to rekindle the flame in your heart today for health. There is nothing more important than health. It is the foundational prerequisite. It is the foundation of life that all life is built upon. Without health, you have nothing. What good is having a bunch of dreams, aspirations, desires, goals, and longings if you don't have the strength, the vitality, the vigor, the energy, and the stamina to get up and do it? I mean, a lot of us have dreams, but we just don't have the fucking energy to do it. We may have physical energy, but we don't have spiritual energy. Some of us may have spiritual energy, but we're lacking physical energy. Real health is a accumulation of all bodies uniting and becoming vigorously interconnected and in union with one another, so that we can have spiritual health, mental health, physical health, auric health, Merkabic health, nimbic health, you name it. Peace be with you all.